Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Uh, just make sure you are at the right workshop because we are all just coming back from lunch. And thanks for being here. And we will make it, your time what's spent here. So the agenda of the workshop is basically we want to benchmark the digital initiatives, digital, enterprise, where we are. We've been listening to this since morning, so we'd like to benchmark based on the audience we have. And we definitely have the, diversity of, group here. A couple of housekeeping. There's a polling remote on your table. We will have few questions. We will let you know when you need to poll based on the question, what will show up here. This is the second year when LNT Technology Services is hosting this particular workshop. And as we see that where the digital and digitalization or digital world, IoT, smart manufacturing, there's so many names to this workshop. So the way it's moving, we'd like to continue to capture the trend and learn from all of you and share what's unfolding. My name is Vinay Banat. I'm from LNT Technology Services, heading the business from plant engineering, and I'm based out of Chicago. So if we were to look at the smart manufacturing, since 2000, you can see after the Y2K, there has been a lot of technology evolution in few industries like retail, media, where the customer and the business is getting connected, which is like B2C. We have examples in front of us like Amazons of the world, where customer can really order, sitting in Barnes & Noble, order the book from Amazon. So it's a very disruptive technology and how things have moved. And we see that there is a huge potential from a disruption standpoint, which holds within manufacturing. And based on that, what we thought is to bring in here our very distinguished panel from a variety of industry. So we have Dr. Ashwani Dev. He is from Halliburton. He is heading the digital strategy and the big data initiatives at Halliburton. He brings about 15 years of geoscience, technology, and data science experience in oil and gas. And he's also leading the Center of Excellence and editor for few magazines. Welcome, Dr. Ashwani.
Thank you.
Then we have Dale Maloney. He is leading the asset information management at Honda of America Manufacturing. He brings about 20 years of experience, and currently he's leading the technology and smart manufacturing initiative at Honda, which will lay the foundation for smart factory and control systems at Honda. Then we also have Mr. Ralph Rio. He's a vice president at ARC Advisory Group. He brings about 40 plus years of experience with manufacturing and industrial application, and he's been with ARC about 18 years now. Welcome, Ralph.
Thank you.
Then we have Mr. Prabhakar Shetty. He is heading the digital manufacturing services at LNT Technology Services. In his current role, he's responsible for PLM, smart manufacturing, asset management, and engineering managed services. Welcome, Prabhakar. Then, if we were to move on, we also have a fishbowl somewhere at the back. We really appreciate if you drop your business card and there's a surprise gift, also there, and we will announce at the end of the session. Just a quick overview of LNT Technology Services. LNT Technology Services is about $600 million of a run rate, a listed company. It does nothing but engineering services. It captures both the aspects of the ecosystem. One is a product engineering, where we work with companies in industrial products and medical devices, and develop the product, co-develop the product along with various its customers. And then we also have the plant engineering focus, where we work with CPG companies, oil and gas, pharma, and do a lot of plant engineering, digital engineering, and smart manufacturing initiatives. It has about 11,000 plus employees, and it enjoys the 90% of its repeat business from its customer.
Vinay, would you allow me to add a little bit here?
Yeah, please, go ahead. Yeah.
When people go to work with a engineering services organization, I highly recommend that they choose one that has a PLC or DCS control systems practice, so they really understand what goes on in those systems and can integrate with them properly. LNT Technology Services has such a practice. They know how to spell PLC and DCS and work with those systems. So they're very competent in the industrial space.
Can I expand too?
No, please, go ahead.
Because it doesn't fit into a question. Yeah, it actually could fit into things about challenges, but the idea of a company who really understands from data to the cloud down to the device, whether it's designing a machine, getting the data out of the machine to something in SCADA and making meaning of it, or knowing what you're going to do into the cloud. I've not met anybody who is really able to explain to me an end-to-end solution like they have. That's why I'm working with them. Kind of blew me away, really, to be honest.
Thank you. Moving ahead, if we were to really look at the diversity which we have in this group, there's a lot of end user and manufacturer coming from manufacturing space. About 62% is end users. It's changing, so people are still voting. So maybe we should pause, Samir. So if you were to, if you can just vote on this, we'd like to capture what is a mix we have from a participation standpoint.
They didn't give me one of the beepers, so I can't press D.
Yeah, so I think we have about 52% of end users, and then 13% we have OEMs. If we were to also, look at the organization which you represent, the revenue of your organization, if you can just take a couple of minutes or seconds to pull this data. So we have about, is that it?
Wow.
I think about 56%, give or take, the organization having more than $10 billion of its revenue. Okay? Can we move on? So I think if we were to really look at the maturity curve of where the digital or connected technologies in manufacturing are going, if you were to please take another couple of seconds. If you can select A, B, C, D on the remote you have, so that we capture where you are or where your organization is, at what state you are still devising some strategies or you're running some pilot projects, or you have implemented and seeing some results. And yeah. So it's very interesting. So what it shows is about 14% are still devising the strategy, 55% are running the pilots. So if we were to really compare this from last year, let me first finish. Yeah. So the 5% we have implemented, and 16% are still looking at the. This is last year. Just go back to the current, if you can, please. Yeah. So 27% have also already started seeing the impact on the return on investment. So it's pretty, it's pretty consistent with the last year, but there were a few changes. So if you can just go back to the last year, what we captured. Okay. So it shows that about 16% last year were seeing the impact, and 41% were running the pilots. So it's a very natural progression in terms of your ROI. So if we kind of move to our panel here and ask you questions. So Ralph, if you see the shift, from the POC to seeing the ROI from the implementation or the investments which people have made in the digital world. So do you see the same shift when you talk to the larger audience and the variety of the companies?
Yes, yeah. So it's amazing to me because over the years I've been able to watch a lot of markets and application areas go from just barely emerging to mature and adopted in a lot of locations. And it's amazing to me how quickly this industrial IoT, analytics, marketplace has matured. I mean, it was just 3 years ago that when ARC was writing about it, it was a emerging technology. Very few people had done it, and there were actually very few suppliers who could work with it appropriately or had products. And now, just in 3 years, it's amazing to me how rapidly this marketplace has matured, where there are good solutions out there, proven examples of how it achieves real business benefits, and solution providers like LNT TS who can help out. This technology does have a variety of technologies in it. So, it's part of it is in the cloud with analytics, so with understanding the technologies associated with that. But every solution also has to have some networking in it, because you're networking and connecting information, and you got cybersecurity involved in, and then there are also the on-site part of the technologies. How do you do the data acquisition and stuff like that? So this brings together a lot of different technologies. So when you go to implement, if you hired all those people yourselves, first of all, it'd take a long time just to get the right talent. And second of all, what do you do with them when the project's over? So I think at this point it's very beneficial to bring in somebody who's done it before and can swap in the right skill sets as the project moves along, and can achieve more rapid time to benefit than if you try to do it internally.
Thank you. Dale, if we were to look at your ecosystem, how you pick the projects and able to go back to the management and justify the ROI? How do you track any experience which you have gone through in implementing some digital technologies or solutions?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I think one of the biggest problems that I see a tendency to happen is for people to want to go out and find a solution and then try to find a problem to apply it to. And really that's just, well, backwards. So understanding what your pain points are in your organization. And if you know your organization well, if you know the front lines, if you know the people, you've got those relationships, you can identify those areas, and then you look for the technologies and how understanding data, how making sense of it can benefit them. And really, it's not that hard to do. Everybody's drowning in data. It's like pirate's treasure hidden somewhere, and you need the secret map to get there. You've got to know a guy. Hey, he knows that SQL query, and he's got security access to that database. And I mean, just making it available is profound. And that gets buy-in. I mean, you get a fan club in your organization. People are like, hey, we've got a problem. Let's go to Dale. He can help us solve this next problem too. I mean, getting that kind of buy-in, getting that support is key.
Okay. Prabhakar, since you are servicing both process and the discrete manufacturing customer base, do you see any particular industry is leading the digital implementations or digitalization, or any thoughts and views on that?
Tough question. Because if you look at the digital world, like Ralph mentioned, there are a lot of conversations happening, but there's no empirical model against which we can say that maturity of the industry or adoption or any of those like SCORE or any of the manufacturing practices. But having said that, from a vantage point of a service provider who has been interacting with customers right from the design, manufacturing, and other areas, I would say that different industries would have maturity or adoption at different levels of process and technology. Again, it's not a judgment on the industry. For example, if you take process, traditionally, they have been very good on shop floor automation, L1 and L2. Okay? Probably what they're not been doing well is taking that data into the next level of abstraction in terms of using it for new digital initiatives. Okay? Similarly, if you look at discrete, their shop floor automation maturity might not be as good as process, but they do a better job in terms of taking the data because of the IT architecture maturity they have. And the best industry, I would say, is probably auto, because they're done reasonably well in the automation as well as taking the data and deriving insights in terms of how do they look at the future or the efficiency or what I say as the analytics. I think that's where I would rate auto far higher. In terms of, if you look at industrial products, by sheer nature, they are very capital intensive. You'll find a lot of legacy plants in hinterland. Probably that's where I would say the adoption or what I would say as initiatives in digital would be far less in industrial products. So that would be my thing, and as I said, it's not a judgment on any industry. It's a view as we see interacting with multiple customers.
Okay, great, thank you. Can we move on to the next question for the audience here? So if you can just take a couple of seconds. The question is, for your manufacturing process, rank the biggest challenges towards adaptation of smart technologies in your world, in your organization. Sorry? Oh, sorry. Maybe you want to go next, so since I moved. Oh, you want to do this one? Okay. So the question is, my organization has started seeing impact of smart technologies in the following areas. If you can just take a few seconds and respond to this, that would be great. Wow. So basically what we're capturing here is about 60+% has started seeing the impact in the production and manufacturing, which is pretty interesting. The last year was about 24%. Yeah. So last year what we captured was 24%. And Yeah, so it's increasing. I think it definitely links with our previous poll where it said the ROI is, companies have started to realize the return on investments. So, yeah, can we move to next? If you can take again a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds for your manufacturing process, if you can rank the biggest challenge towards adoption of smart technologies. So challenge has not been addressed since last year. So if you're gonna go next, I think. So last year we captured about 42% of people said they are having challenges within the organization. It's an organizational culture which is becoming a challenge for them to implement smart technologies. I think that still holds true. So with that, I'd like to invite Dr. Ashwini. What is the biggest challenge you see, in your ecosystem? And if you can highlight maybe top 3 challenges,
Right.
being an OEM and taking the digitalization or IoT in your
Right.
space.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And I think it is interesting, right? If you look at 2017 and 18, the one thing that has moved is the impact of organizational culture on any of the, so you see the technology is coming along very fast, tools are coming along very fast. One thing that is not changing is the organization culture, and that reflects in all the opinions that we are getting. And for us, means that is definitely one of the things, because I think the important question is what culture means for an organization. And for us, our understanding on the culture is that being Halliburton, very customer-centric organization, we have very close association with customer, and when we do reality checks with the customer, where they see the value and where they want to see where they are going in the future and what our demands are, for us, that organization culture is more driven by that demand that we see from the customers. The more it is integrated, more the customer sees that, we do not want your same services from your 10 different business organization. We need a single solution from 10 business organization, and that basically enforces a customer's demand as an envision for our own company. And we're saying, no, I think there is something gap and we need to integrate, and that's where we see the biggest impact of digital transformation is coming to it, where not only that we are bringing data into play, but also we are bringing the domain integration of domain expertise, and as well as bringing a singular solution to customers. They don't want 10 siloed solutions. So getting that individual solution into a much more integrated single concept, that is initial was the biggest challenge that we had. The other is always that challenge stays with the digital transformation is why. Every business objective, every business vertical in an organization has their own objectives. And they want to know if I have to change, why I have to change, and where it is going to impact. And that is a crucial question. And that sometimes take longer than you expect to get an answer from. And unless we have answer for that, why you should change, then it is very difficult for someone to change. And so that is the second aspect we have realized that it is the biggest challenge. The other part is actual demonstrating a tangible value. Means you can come up with good strategy, you can come up with a good solution, you may create insight from the data that you are leveraging, but unless those insights are not feed back into the system where they are not realized, then any of the first three exercises are meaningless. So actually learning, creating insight, and putting those learnings back into the system, that is the crucial aspect, because that's when someone is seeing the change. Either their life becomes easy or customer becomes more satisfied. So that last piece, the last leg of the marathon, which is learning and implementing those changes, they don't come very easy, because that means there is a change management that has to take place. So those are the main areas where we have seen challenges.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah,
If
please.
I could-
Ralph, go.
Can I add?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I firmly agree with Ashwani that change management, you know, the thing that he ended with, but he articulated in many different ways. How do you get people's attention to, you know, break through this barrier of organization resistant to change? And just to build on that a little bit is the business case. We've found in our research that a good business case will break through organizational change issues and also get executive attention. So what the business case does is relate to the P&L statement and the balance sheet, which are your executives' KPIs and metrics. That's what they get paid based on. If you improve that stuff, you will get executive attention in a very positive way. So one example I'll use, a very common application of IoT, industrial IoT, is predictive maintenance. So you have some indicator that something about to fail, you take some action before it fails. Well, that directly relates to revenue, because you have a piece of production equipment that fails, it can't make product, you can't ship it, you can't get revenue. So if you make that connection to the P&L statement and the balance sheet, you will get executive attention, you will break through organization barriers, and you'll also get the resources necessary to be successful because the executives will allocate that to your project.
I think that's the organization culture to overcome, that challenge. But Dale, if we were to come back to you, you need to take the digital technologies into your plant where you have, your factory workers, they are not used to the change, the new technology. How do you overcome that? Any thoughts or any views on that?
Overcome that. Yeah. How much time do I have?
You have 1 second.
Not a chance. This could be a session unto itself, really. The challenges that you have. I mean, so you got the buy-in. You have a plan of what you want to do. Well, the challenge within the plant, your people don't have the skill sets to do this right now. They don't speak the language. They don't understand networking. They don't understand the value of data. They don't know how to speak data scientists. There's a skill set, a set of unknown unknowns. Not only do they not have the skills, they don't even know the skills that they don't have that they need to have in order to do it. So that's a huge challenge right there. And then gaining that buy-in, that they want to do it. Now, and I talked about identifying pain points first. I mean, that's definitely something that can be done, but you can't bank on that. And every new place you go to do it, you have to do it again. You can't rest on your past successes, each new team. And then technically, I can see the trajectory that this whole wave is going. And I can see that I can easily end up sticking my data in lots of little proprietary boxes. And to be honest, a lot of the high ROI case studies that I read about are doing just that. They're putting data in boxes, and then they say, well, you can integrate it. Well, I don't want to integrate every single data source in its own individual box. I want to get it all into one place where it's not going to have a broken integration when somebody decides to change their API. So you have to learn how to communicate with all of these things. And if somebody wants to sell you a solution that sticks their data in their box, don't buy it. I mean, there's so many options on the market. Go with the open ones.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Can I add on that just a little bit? I'm sorry, I'm
go
enthusiastic about this topic. There's something, most projects deal with a particular piece of equipment. We tend to call that a small data project, meaning you're just doing analytics on the data coming off of one particular machine for predictive maintenance or whatever. So to build on what Dale said, a reason to put this into a broader platform is that eventually, after doing a bunch of these projects, you're not going to just have a bunch of independent small data. Eventually, you will have a big data opportunity across those data sets. So you want all that data into one platform so you can get to that big data solution.
Yeah.
Agree?
Agree.
If you can move to the next. So
But it doesn't have to be in the cloud. It can be the edge.
All right.
That's a debate by itself.
Yeah.
It is a debate. We'll fight about that for years.
I think our next question is the impact and the outcome of smart manufacturing or smart technologies we are seeing or you are seeing in your ecosystem. If you can respond to this question, please. I think our response is pretty consistent, actually. It's manufacturing operations. And then we are also seeing the operation agility, which is pretty close to, which is asset availability.
But isn't the audience here a little bit biased, coming mostly from operations? Yes, client services.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, consistent from a standpoint of if you look at the representation we have in this room is from manufacturing.
Well, I'd argue that big data
Yeah,
isn't useful until it fits into one of those other four buckets.
Yeah, please go ahead.
There's a huge bleed over between B and D. I mean, if I'm on a manufacturing line and I'm looking at optimization, part of my optimization considerations is the improvement of my end product quality.
Yeah, I mean, the improvement product quality is also, you will see some people are here from product engineering background, so they're also trying to improve the quality of, the product, and this manufacturing operations is more from what we are doing in the manufacturing, how we are improving the, yeah.
I would say from a Honda perspective, where it really doesn't matter to me usually if a machine is running or not, if it's not putting out good quality. I mean, that definitely relates. I would say I would put your answer in quality if you're talking about quality, but there's a whole lot of things about machine optimization that have nothing to do with quality. But if it is, put your answer into quality. If it's not, if it's talking about efficiency, if it's talking about overall reliability of that machine, utilization of that machine, then put it in optimization.
Can we go to the next, please? Again, if you can take a few seconds, please rank your topmost digitization priority for 2018 and 19. I think clearly we see that adaptation of predictive analytics for asset management, adaptation of industrial IoT and asset management. So it again comes back to improving your operations and having the assets available while you're running your plant. So that's what we see here based on your response. So, Dr. Ashwini, do you see a similar, the opportunity in your ecosystem?
Yes, and very much actually, when I see the C and D options, how people are voting, and it definitely we see the similar pattern in our organization and in our industry. Another thing that is driving means one of the priorities for us as Halliburton is automation across the board. It's drilling automation, completion automation, because for us, putting less people on the rig, that everything comes to the quality and HSE practices as well as the cost. So for us, automation is one of the biggest priorities. And when you are looking at automation, it is not an entity just by itself, and operational efficiency goes with it. So the predictive maintenance is part of that. So and the industrial IoT. So that is definitely one of the top priority for us.
Okay, thank you. Ralph, would you like to chip in here and give us a little bit broader view of, what you are seeing in the industry from a prioritization standpoint when it comes to smart manufacturing?
There's a piece I wrote recently around digital transformation and what is digital transformation. By the way, it's available through the app. If you go to my name and either under staff or attendees, I've got collateral loaded in the app, and one of them is an insight on this topic, digital transformation. And I'll just describe it very shortly. There's three types of digital transformation. It's become an overused word, so I felt the need to define it. The one is inside the box. So that's where you are automating or optimizing an existing business process within your facility. And that could be something like predictive maintenance on a particular piece of equipment. Then there's the outside the box, which is aftermarket services. So if you're an equipment maker, then it's monitoring remotely the condition of the equipment in your customer's plant. But it could also be the supply chain by providing information to your customers about where the products are and the cold chain type stuff and things like that. So that's inside the box, outside the box. And then the one that I feel is most important is the no box, where you're developing a new business aligned with your existing business, but a new business where you're selling new services to your customers. It may be about their business processes or things like that. And it's a new business opportunity to grow your company's overall revenue. So three spaces: in the box, out of the box, and no box.
Okay, thank you. Can we move to the next? So take a few seconds if you can respond to the question, top areas where you're investing in the digital technologies. I'm not seeing everybody is using the remote on the desk. Okay. I think what we are seeing here is industrial automation is definitely a space which is where maybe some retrofitting is on or enhancing the capability of your control system. So that's where we see this going. So I think we are almost towards the end of the session, but we'd like to open this to the audience here. If you have questions for the panel, we encourage the questions and have a little bit more interactive section here. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. I'm Bala from Reliance Industries, India. Responding to ROI on initiatives, that's a quite traditional approach, right? And many of these things, some of the opportunities presented by the new technology advancements requires innovation courage, which is a fail fast, improve fast kind of an approach. So should we really go down the path of ROI? Because if the ROI is not appealing fast, then the initiative gets stuck down. Then we kill a bright idea at the infancy stage. So what is your approach, panel recommendation on that? Thank you.
It's a very good question, actually. Yeah.
So I think I will take that question. So I think the fast fail approach is something that we use in practice, even if the ROI question is over there. The point is that what you do not want to do is you still have the ROI proposition as a business, because that's the imperative and how we run the business. But point is that to achieve that, you have to take the fast fail approach. You want to do the innovation in shorter time span where you fail fast and you change your solution. But because your goals are set where you want to go, and because you see the opportunity, it's not just about ROI, it is the future opportunity that we are looking at it. So ROI is just one instrument to basically saying in another way of demonstrating to the management. But shorter time span where you fail fast and you innovate faster, that is always part of the new ecosystem where the digital technologies are going. You have to experiment, but experiment fast, fail fast, and learn quickly.
And I would add, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have a multi-pronged strategy. You need to not just be resting on one failure. You need to have multiple things. And also because you're going to need to have infrastructure to go along with this. And you're not going to be able to justify the investment in your infrastructure with just a one-pronged plan. It needs to be multi-pronged.
Okay. I think
Hey, so, real quick. This question is for Dale, just because you had touched on it earlier, but for the rest of the panel as well. So Dale, you come from you come from Honda, so you were pretty much already mostly automated anyway. But from a training standpoint, when you go full-on automation, do you have training facilities that your new employees go to for a certain number of weeks or months, or are there apprenticeships, or how is it that you move people from just coming out of school or high school or college and then on the production floor and then up? Does that make sense?
We just throw them in the water, and if they drown, No. We do have training systems. We have qualifications. But we also are well aware that the educational system is not producing enough people who want to understand and get into this world of automation. So we build off the TPM plan, where first somebody's going to move from just being a production associate to being an operator. And at that point, we get them involved in maintenance. We get them involved in continuous improvement. When they show aptitude, they can take training to get to the next level. But yeah, we have to do a good chunk of internal development of that expertise. And when it works really well, because those are people who have passion for a direction. You can't really expect somebody to know at 18 that this is going to be something that they love to do. I certainly didn't.
Prabhakar, do you want to respond to this? Because you are again servicing various clients, every part of the globe. What you are seeing as a trend from training mechanism standpoint when it comes to the end user?
Definitely. I think one of the challenges when we go to customer, what we see as knowledge islands or knowledge silos, okay? That is more to due to the traditional ways of working. So when you're looking at a digital world, first and foremost, it's an opportunity for a large change management from moving into a workforce management kind of approach to a more of a collaborative approach. But having said that, like Dale said, is there any silver bullet that sort of solves this problem? It is not, okay? It is more to do with when you set out for any of these initiatives, having a reasonably cross-functional team which is sort of doing the execution, that really helps, which consists of not only the senior managers, but also people down the shop floor. And many times we have found that some of these cross-functional teams, the better ideas came from people who have practitioners rather than the senior folks who are sitting. The very myth that the change might be difficult down the pyramid was busted in many of the assignments which we are doing.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other question?
I guess good.
I think that's, so we, please pass by our booth, and we have, actually we are running a fundraising for American Cancer Society. So, Samir will be, receiving you there, and we are, contributing to that cause. So Samir, can we get the bowl and?
The ball is right there. Dale,
Okay.
you can pick one.
Oh.
And Ashwin, you can pick one. And
Okay. You will not get to get.
two lucky winners.
Jennifer Pfeiffer of Dow. All right.
Can you pick one? Dale, what do you want to get this?
Ah, yes. Thank you for coming to our session. Oh, he wants to take a picture of us.
Robert Himes, Enterprise Process Owner, Manufacturing, SI Group.
Robert, come over.
Thank you so much, for attending this event, and if we can give a big round of applause to our panel who shared our